Hi, boys and girls. My name is Wingnut Dave, and I heard from Miss Ann that you guys were doing a special day about transportation. So you're looking at trucks and cars and motorcycles and maybe boats and other things. But I want to talk to you today about my favorite kind of transportation, and that's airplanes. I love airplanes, and I really love my little Gizmo airplane.
Underneath better traffic altitude.
All right, so the first thing we got to do is wind up the rubber band. I'm just kidding with you. I have to do this to loosen up the engine and to get the oil to the right level, because the first thing I do is I have to check the oil. Ready? So I'm checking the oil. We got plenty of that. Oil is what engines like. So we check the oil. That's all good. We know that the engine will rotate, and we check the rest of the airplane to make sure that it's okay to fly. So we check the wheels, and we check all of the fittings. We check the sides of the wings, the control surfaces, make sure that nothing's falling off or loose. We come back here and we check all the fittings here. And we just do that until we determine that it's ready to fly. Gizmo was built by my father and I about 10 years ago. And we've had so much fun flying around in it. I've been to Texas, I've been to Phoenix, I've been to Oshkosh, and it's all about having fun in my little plane. So I think what we ought to do is maybe go flying. Let's do that. All right, so now we get ourselves inside the Gizmo, the airplane. And there's a few things that we need to do before we start the engine. We turn the main fuel pumps on, turn the ignition on, and we always follow our checklist. We got fuel pressure. Our gauges look good. All these gauges tell us something about it.
All right. So one thing that we've got on board is a radio so that we can listen to other pilots, and we can listen to something special that tells us what the weather's like. So let's listen to that and find out what we need to do.
Visibility 10, clear below 12,000, temperature
nice and clear.
10 Celsius, dew point -13, altimeter 3020.
He'll tell it to us again. We'll listen to the parts that we need to know.
Meadow Lake Airport, automated weather observation 2142, Zulu, weather, wind 210 at 6, visibility 10, clear below 12,000, temperature 10 Celsius, dew point -13.
Now that we know what the weather's like, let's go fly. Okay, so we're taxiing out to the main runway, and while we're doing that, we're looking at all these instruments to make sure everything is happy as far as the engine goes and as far as the other things go. We turn on things like transponders, and we have some lights. And it's a beautiful and perfect day to go flying. All right, so we're in this area called the run-up area, and they call it the run-up area because I've got to test a few things on the engine before we say, let's go flying. One thing I've got to test is whether my brakes are holding, and we test that by running the engine RPM up. You can kind of hear that. And then I also have to test a couple of things called ignitions to make sure that both of our ignition systems are working. We're also able to look at all of the gauges and make sure that everything's running right before we say, let's roll out and go fly. So we'll wait for this airplane to go past us. We don't want to get out in front of him. And as soon as he lands or takes off again, then we can go on to the runway. Meadow Lake traffic, experimental 7714 Echoes rolling on to 15 for departure. We'll stay in the pattern and do some touch and goes. Meadow Lake. So now we're on the runway and we give it lots of gas. And as soon as we start going fast enough and enough air is going over the wings fast enough, we'll be able to fly. That's what I'm talking about. Getting up above all of it. Hi, kid. Meadow Lake traffic 14 Echoes on downwind for touch and go 15 Meadow Lake. So sometimes when we get up here, it's kind of bumpy. And in my little airplane, a little bump is a whole lot of bump. And you can see how we're kind of bouncing around. Well, that's not me flying funny, although I do fly funny. It's wind moving us around. If you can imagine, it's like a kite on a string. And the wind's just tossing it about. But in a fun way. And Meadow Lake 14 Echoes on final for 15. Full stop, Meadow Lake. That was a crappy ding. Meadow Lake traffic, experimental 7714 Echoes turning base to final for full stop 15 Meadow Lake.
Well, hi kids, I wanted to talk to you about something that happened to me when I was just a little guy. There was this fella who was a pilot who told me, not so many words, that I would never be able to fly, that I wasn't smart enough to fly. What I want to talk to you about is he was wrong. Not only did I learn how to fly, but I also learned how to build my own airplane. Behind me is my friend's airplane. He built this, and I helped him build it. And you can see it's a big airplane, and it's a lot of fun. I just want you to know, no matter what anybody tells you, you can learn how to do anything. You listen to your teachers, you read books, you ask questions. You too can fly an airplane, do anything you want. Here's my good friend, Captain Michael Cranford.
Hi, kids.
Hey. So Mike, tell us a little bit about your airplane, and I got a question for you first. How did you build it? How did you learn how to build an airplane?
Well, it was actually pretty easy, Wingnut Dave with a jelly bean hat on.
Well, thank you.
I learned to read back in the first grade, kindergarten and first grade, and so I got a bunch of books and I started reading about it, and I got the maintenance manuals and started going through the maintenance manuals and the parts catalogs and just started building it at one piece at a time, and kind of like eating an elephant, one bite at a time, and all of a sudden it turned into a big elephant.
It is
Or
a big
airplane.
elephant. It is a big airplane. Tell us a little bit about it, and I'll walk around and you just tell us some more about it.
Okay, well, this is a North American Aviation T-28. It was used by the Navy for about 30 years to train their pilots to fly in the U.S. Navy, and this particular model was used to train pilots to land on aircraft carriers.
Well, cool.
So it is a pretty big airplane. I'm just doing some maintenance on it today.
Yeah.
That's why I've got the cowlings open.
Now, how'd you learn how to fly something like this?
Well, I went on to the Air Force Academy, and I got my commission in the U.S. Air Force, and they taught me how to fly jets. And I did that for about 13 years,
Yeah.
and then I went and flew for the airlines for about 30 years, and that's why they call me Captain Mikey.
That's cool. So what was the hardest thing for you to learn while you were building this?
I'll have to think about that for a second. How to open my wallet for all the money that it costs. No, this engine is probably the most difficult thing for me to learn. Being a jet jockey, we use different techniques to fly the engine than we use to fly this internal combustion radial engine. So it's got a couple of extra levers and knobs and dials on it that I've had to figure out and learn some management techniques for the propeller. But it really isn't hard. You just, again, get the book out and you start reading. And what I like to do is chair fly, or I'll read the book several times and practice doing in a chair or on the sofa or whatever. I'll do exactly what they tell me to do without the cost of operating the airplane and cranking it up, and I'll practice before I go fly.
Now, let me get this right, though. You built the airplane and you know how to fly the airplane, but you're still going to have to take instruction.
Absolutely.
You're still going to have a teacher work with you.
That's true. And that's true in just about any airplane, at least any big airplane. I've had instruction in many different airplanes. Once you get proficient, then the instructor says, yes, you're good to go. You'll take a check ride, prove it to an examiner, and then you'll be good to go.
Wow. Thanks so much, Captain Mike.
You're welcome.
Thank you, kids.
Did you get to go flying today with the kids?
Oh, yeah.
Wingnut Dave?
Yeah, I took them flying with me. They'll never forget that. They'll never do it again. No, you will. You kids have fun. Give your teacher your respect and your love, and we'll talk to you later.
Study hard.
Yeah.